What if the foundational story of humanity's journey across the globe, particularly its arrival in the Americas, is far more ancient and complex than we've ever dared to imagine? For generations, the prevailing narrative, deeply entrenched in archaeological and historical understanding, painted a clear picture. The vast, diverse landscapes of North and South America were first settled by intrepid hunter-gatherers, often referred to as the Clovis people, who ventured across a temporary land bridge known as Beringia, connecting Siberia to Alaska, approximately 13,000 to 14,000 years ago. This widely accepted, Clovis first model posited a relatively swift migration southward through an ice-free corridor that opened up as the colossal glaciers of the last ice age began to recede, populating a continent previously untouched by human footsteps. This theory, reinforced by the widespread discovery of distinctive, fluted stone spear points at sites across North America, became the bedrock of our understanding, shaping textbooks, museum exhibits, and popular imagination, suggesting that the Americas were among the very last frontiers to be explored and inhabited by our species. It was a compelling tale of pioneering spirit, rapid adaptation, and the ultimate triumph of human ingenuity in a pristine wilderness. However, the bedrock of this long-standing consensus is now experiencing seismic shifts, as a cascade of groundbreaking discoveries and re-evaluations of existing evidence are beginning to paint a radically different, and infinitely more profound, picture. Whispers from the deep past, once dismissed as anomalies or misinterpreted data, are coalescing into a compelling chorus, suggesting that human presence on these continents could stretch back not merely thousands, but tens of thousands of years further than previously conceived, potentially reaching an astonishing 40,000 years into antiquity. This isn't just a minor adjustment to a timeline, it's a fundamental recalibration that forces us to confront a breathtaking possibility, that our ancestors navigated and survived in a world we can barely fathom, a world still firmly gripped by the icy clutches of a full-blown glacial maximum. If this earlier arrival holds true, it fundamentally redefines the very essence of, first, transforming the Americas from a relatively recent human destination into a testament to the extraordinary, almost unfathomable, resilience and exploratory drive of early Homo sapiens, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible for ancient peoples. It compels us to ask not just when they arrived, but how they endured, what challenges they faced in a truly primeval landscape, and what their lives were truly like in an era when vast ice sheets dominated the northern hemisphere and megafauna roamed freely across sprawling, untamed territories. The implications are staggering, inviting us to embark on a journey into a lost chapter of human history, one that promises to rewrite the very beginning of the American story. The seismic shifts in our understanding are not mere theoretical musings, they are grounded in tangible evidence, unearthed by dedicated archaeologists and interpreted by cutting-edge scientific methods, each discovery a powerful ripple expanding across the timeline of human presence. Among the most compelling and least disputable of these revelations are the extraordinary fossilized human footprints discovered in the White Sands National Park in New Mexico. Etched into ancient lakebed sediments, these footprints offer an undeniable, visceral connection to those who walked the Americas millennia ago. Researchers have meticulously dated these tracks using sophisticated techniques, yielding an astonishing age range of 21,000 to 23,000 years old. This dating places human presence firmly within the last glacial maximum, a period when immense ice sheets, sometimes miles thick, sprawled across vast swathes of North America, making the conventional, ice-free corridor, impassable. The very existence of these footprints in a region far south of the ice sheets at such an early date directly contradicts the traditional narrative of a post-glacial arrival, forcing a radical re-evaluation of migration routes and timelines. Further south, nestled within the rugged mountains of Zacatecas, Mexico, lies Chiquihuite Cave, a site that has ignited intense scholarly debate but offers tantalizing hints of even deeper antiquity. Here, archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of stone tools, including finely crafted flakes and blades, buried in layers that suggest human occupation stretching back as far as 30,000 years. While the precise nature of some of these artifacts and their secure dating remain subjects of rigorous scientific scrutiny and healthy academic disagreement, some argue that natural geological processes could create similar patterns, or that contamination might affect dating. The potential implications of Chiquihuite are profound. If confirmed, it would signify a human presence in Mesoamerica long before any previously accepted dates, challenging our entire understanding of initial dispersal patterns. Venturing to the colder northern reaches, closer to the fabled Bering Land Bridge, other crucial clues have surfaced. In the Old Crow Flats region of Yukon, Canada, for instance, researchers have found evidence suggestive of human activity predating the Clovis era by tens of thousands of years. Discoveries here include mammoth bones bearing clear-cut marks, indicative of butchery by early humans, alongside delicate stone flakes that speak to the production of tools. Radiocarbon dating of these remains has yielded dates ranging from 25,000 to an astounding 40,000 years ago, placing humans firmly within the ancient, frozen landscape of Beringia itself. These findings suggest that the land bridge was not merely a transitory path, but potentially a protracted refuge, a staging ground where early populations might have adapted to the harsh Arctic environment for millennia before expanding further south. The sheer antiquity of these finds in a region so geographically pivotal offers compelling support for the hypothesis of a much earlier arrival. Adding another powerful layer to this evolving narrative, genetic studies of indigenous American populations are increasingly aligning with these archaeological revelations. DNA analysis, comparing genetic markers across various populations, suggests that the ancestral lines leading to modern Native Americans diverged from Asian populations far earlier than previously thought, with some models pointing to a standstill period in Beringia potentially beginning as far back as 36,000 years ago. This genetic evidence provides a crucial biological timestamp, corroborating the archaeological finds and suggesting that ancestral groups were indeed isolated and evolving in the Beringian landmass or adjacent regions long before the traditional dates of continental entry. Collectively, these diverse lines of evidence, from fossilized footprints to ancient tools and genetic markers, are reshaping the very contours of our deepest past, transforming whispers of an earlier presence into a compelling chorus that demands we redefine the true beginning of humanity's enduring journey into the heart of the Americas. If these faint whispers and compelling genetic signatures truly testify to an ancient human presence, then the lives of these earliest American pioneers unfolded within a world radically different from our own, a world firmly in the frigid grip of the last great ice age. Imagine a planet where colossal ice sheets, some miles thick, stretched across vast expanses of the northern hemisphere, locking up immense quantities of Earth's water. Around 40,000 years ago, as the Earth approached the zenith of its glacial period, much of what we now know as Canada, and significant portions of the northern United States, lay buried beneath these immense frozen expanses. Sea levels were dramatically lower, hundreds of feet below their current marks, exposing vast swathes of continental shelf that are now submerged. This colossal environmental transformation didn't just alter coastlines, it fundamentally reshaped entire land masses and climates, creating unique and demanding ecosystems that tested the very limits of survival. Central to this ancient landscape was Beringia, the famed land bridge connecting Siberia and Alaska. But rather than merely a narrow, fleeting passage, Beringia was, for millennia, a sprawling, unique ecological zone. It wasn't a land of dense forests or barren ice. Instead, it was a vast, treeless steppe, an arid, frigid grassland often referred to as the Mammoth steppe, rich in low-growing grasses, sedges, and wildflowers. This unique environment, largely unglaciated due to its aridity, supported an incredibly rich and diverse array of megafauna, making it a critical staging ground, a long-term refuge where early human populations could have not just passed through, but thrived and adapted for generations before venturing further into the interior of the Americas. It was within this chilling yet resource-rich panorama that life would have unfolded for any human groups present, demanding an unparalleled level of ingenuity and resilience. The most iconic inhabitants of this Ice Age world were, without doubt, the colossal megafauna that roamed in staggering numbers. Picture towering woolly mammoths, shaggy behemoths with immense curved tusks, grazing across the steppes, their thick fur insulating them against the biting cold. Alongside them were their slightly smaller, forest-dwelling cousins, the mastodons, lumbering through the scattered woodlands. But these were just two species in a menagerie of giants. Enormous ancient bison, far larger than their modern descendants, thundered across the plains, formidable dire wolves hunted in packs, and the apex predators, the terrifying saber-toothed cats, with their elongated, dagger-like fangs, stalked their prey. Even the seemingly docile had a giant counterpart, like the massive ground sloths, some as tall as elephants, slowly foraging on vegetation. For any humans living in this era, these majestic creatures were not just part of the scenery, they were the very cornerstone of existence. They represented immense walking larders, providing not only sustenance in the form of meat and fat but also crucial resources like hides for warmth, bones for tools, and ivory for adornment. Simultaneously, they presented profound dangers, with predators capable of turning hunter into hunted. The very fabric of human life in this frozen frontier would have been inextricably intertwined with these magnificent, now extinct giants, demanding a deep understanding of their behaviors, their migratory patterns, and the perilous art of interacting with a world teeming with such powerful, unacquainted animal life. In the face of the monumental challenges posed by an Ice Age world, the earliest inhabitants of the Americas embraced a lifestyle forged in necessity and refined by generations of profound environmental wisdom. They were quintessential hunter-gatherers. Their existence was a ceaseless, cyclical dance with the seasons and the migratory patterns of animals, a testament to an unparalleled intimacy with their surroundings. Unlike later agricultural societies, these communities were fundamentally nomadic, constantly on the move, not aimlessly wandering but meticulously following the ebb and flow of available resources. Their knowledge of the land was their most invaluable asset, a vast, inherited encyclopedia of edible plants, potable water sources, animal behaviors, and the subtle cues of an ever-changing climate. Survival was a daily, active pursuit, demanding an extraordinary degree of physical resilience, keen observation, and collective strategic thinking. The centerpiece of their subsistence, especially in a landscape teeming with colossal creatures, was the hunt. Imagine the sheer audacity and skill required to confront a creature like a woolly mammoth or a giant bison, armed with little more than sharpened stone-tipped spears. This was not a solitary endeavor but a highly coordinated, communal act, often involving careful planning, the exploitation of terrain, such as driving herds into natural traps, bogs, or over cliffs, and the collective effort of many individuals. Hunters would meticulously craft their projectile points from flint or obsidian, designed for penetration, and wield thrusting spears that demanded close-quarters courage. The hunt was fraught with peril, a gamble where success promised sustenance for weeks, providing not only prodigious amounts of meat but also crucial fat, a high-calorie necessity in the frigid climate, while failure could spell starvation. Every part of a successful kill was utilized, from muscle and organs to provide immediate nourishment, to sinews for bindings, bones for tools, and thick hides and fur for essential clothing and shelter. The very act of pursuing these gargantuan animals shaped their physical prowess, their communal bonds, and their understanding of their place within the ecological hierarchy. Yet, to categorize them merely as hunters would be to overlook the equally vital, often more consistent, daily labor of gathering. While hunting provided intermittent feasts and crucial protein, it was often unpredictable. The steady provision of calories and nutrients came from the meticulous collection of edible plants. In a glacial environment, the variety of accessible flora might have been limited compared to warmer climes, but these expert foragers would have known every root, tuber, berry, nut, and seed that offered sustenance during brief seasonal windows. They would have possessed an ancestral knowledge distinguishing nourishing plants from poisonous ones, and understanding the best times and places to harvest. Along coastlines, which would have been significantly more expansive due to lower sea levels, the gathering of shellfish, the capture of fish, and the opportunistic scavenging or hunting of marine mammals would have supplemented their diet, providing diverse and reliable protein sources. This gathering component of their economy, likely performed by women, children, and elders, ensured a more consistent baseline of food, balancing the high-risk, high-reward nature of large-game hunting. Within this challenging yet abundant environment, these early Americans lived not in sprawling cities or complex agricultural societies, but in small, highly mobile bands. These groups, likely composed of extended families or closely related kin, perhaps numbering only a few dozen individuals, relied entirely on internal cohesion and cooperation for survival. There were no rigid social hierarchies, Instead, leadership likely emerged organically based on skill, experience, and wisdom. Every member, regardless of age or gender, contributed to the group's well-being, whether through hunting, gathering, toolmaking, childcare, or crafting essential clothing. The sharing of resources was not merely an act of generosity but a fundamental survival imperative, ensuring that no individual or family starved when others had abundance. Their constant movement fostered a deep, spiritual connection to the land, seeing themselves as an integral part of the natural world, rather than separate from or superior to it. Their daily life was a relentless testament to human adaptability, a vibrant tapestry woven from ingenuity, community, and an unyielding will to endure against the backdrop of a raw, untamed Ice Age frontier. In a world defined by the relentless chill of the Ice Age and the colossal might of its megafauna, the survival of the earliest Americans hinged not on brute strength alone, but on an extraordinary mastery of their environment, expressed through their ingenuity in crafting tools, constructing shelter, and adapting their very being to the raw demands of nature. Their technological arsenal, though seemingly primitive by modern standards, represented the pinnacle of Stone Age engineering, meticulously crafted from the materials at hand. The cornerstone of this technology was flint knapping, the precise art of shaping stone into functional tools by carefully striking flakes from a core. This was a skill demanding immense knowledge of various stone types, an understanding of fracture mechanics, and an almost intuitive sense of precision. From this process emerged indispensable implements, razor-sharp knives for butchering the enormous game they hunted, efficient scrapers vital for processing tough animal hides into pliable leather for clothing and shelter, and, most critically, acutely pointed spear points capable of piercing the thick hides and muscle of mammoths and mastodons. Every tool was multi-purpose, designed for maximum utility and reflecting a deep understanding of their material properties, often supplemented by tools fashioned from bone, antler, and wood, showcasing a resourcefulness born of absolute necessity. Shelter from the relentless elements was not a luxury but an immediate imperative. As nomadic peoples following game and seasonal resources, permanent structures were impractical. Instead, they perfected the art of erecting temporary, mobile dwellings, often utilizing the very resources provided by their hunts. Imagine circular or oval-shaped huts constructed from sturdy branches or perhaps even the robust bones of large animals like mammoths, forming a skeletal framework. This framework would then be meticulously covered with an intricate layering of animal hides and furs, expertly processed to be both waterproof and insulating. These ingenious structures could be swiftly dismantled and re-erected at new campsites, offering vital protection from howling winds, biting cold, and heavy snowfall. When available, natural rock shelters and caves provided ready-made havens, offering superior protection and becoming favored, often repeatedly used, encampments that served as temporary homes and workshops. The ability to quickly establish effective shelter was paramount to surviving the brutal, unforgiving conditions of the glacial epoch. Perhaps no aspect of their adaptation speaks more profoundly to their resilience than their clothing. In temperatures plunging far below freezing for much of the year, exposed skin meant rapid death. Their attire was not about fashion, but pure survival, a literal second skin. Crafted almost entirely from the processed hides and furs of the animals they hunted, mammoth, bison, deer, caribou, their clothing would have been multi-layered and meticulously fashioned. Hides would have been laboriously scraped clean, then likely softened through chewing, smoking, or treatment with animal brains and fats to make them supple. Bone needles, painstakingly carved, would have been used with sinew thread to stitch together complex garments, insulated parkas, trousers, mittens, and crucial, durable footwear designed to traverse snow, ice, and rugged terrain. This elaborate clothing system trapped insulating layers of air, protecting them from the most extreme cold and allowing them to operate effectively in environments that would be instantly lethal to an unprotected modern human. However, the single most transformative mastery, arguably more crucial than any tool, was their command of fire. Fire was the beating heart of their survival. It provided life-saving warmth, allowing them to huddle together in their temporary shelters against the biting cold. It revolutionized their diet, making tough meat digestible, unlocking nutrients, and rendering fats and marrow more accessible through cooking. Fire also offered indispensable protection, its flickering flames and crackling sounds deterring nocturnal predators from approaching their camps. Beyond immediate survival, fire was a technological catalyst. It could be used to harden the tips of wooden spears, improve the flaking properties of certain stones for toolmaking, and even provide light during the long, dark winter nights. The constant need to gather fuel and meticulously maintain a fire spoke to its absolute centrality in their daily lives. Taken together, their sophisticated tool-making, ingenious shelter construction, meticulously crafted clothing, and profound mastery of fire painted a portrait of early Americans who were not merely surviving but thriving, a testament to their extraordinary capacity for adaptation, problem-solving, and a deep, intrinsic understanding of the natural world, truly making them masters of their challenging Stone Age frontier. Even as the compelling evidence mounts for an astonishingly early human presence in the Americas, a profound question continues to echo across the millennia, one that adds an almost poignant layer of mystery to their incredible story. If these intrepid pioneers were so adept at surviving the unforgiving Ice Age, mastering its challenges with ingenuity and resilience, why is their archaeological record so tantalizingly sparse, so fragmented, and so discontinuous with the more abundant evidence of later populations, like the well-documented Clovis culture? The absence of a clear, unbroken line of archaeological remains stretching from 40,000 years ago to the present has long been a powerful argument against such early occupation, forming the very bedrock of the Clovis first paradigm. Yet, the existence of those ancient footprints, the contested tools from deep caves, and the compelling genetic signatures demand an explanation for this apparent vanishing act. One compelling scenario posits that these earliest populations were simply too small and too scattered across the vastness of the continents to leave a consistently detectable archaeological footprint. Imagine small, isolated bands, perhaps numbering only a few dozen individuals, navigating immense landscapes. Their ephemeral campsites, built from perishable materials like hides and branches, would vanish quickly into the environmental record, leaving behind only the most durable stone tools, often in such limited quantities that they are incredibly difficult to locate millennia later. Even a slight demographic downturn, perhaps due to disease, internal conflict, or a prolonged hunting failure, could have led to the complete extinction of a small, localized group, leaving no descendants to carry their cultural traditions forward. In such a vast and challenging world, the survival of tiny populations would have been incredibly precarious, susceptible to being swallowed by the sheer scale of the wilderness. Furthermore, the very environment that shaped their lives may have ultimately contributed to their disappearance or the scarcity of their record. The Ice Age was not a static epoch but a dynamic period marked by rapid and often brutal environmental changes. Sudden shifts in climate, such as swift advances or retreats of glacial ice sheets, could have dramatically altered landscapes, cutting off migratory routes, flooding coastal refugia, especially as sea levels rose and fell, or causing critical food resources, like megafauna herds, to shift their territories or decline. A series of exceptionally harsh winters, prolonged droughts, or even localized natural disasters like volcanic eruptions could have decimated small, vulnerable populations, pushing them beyond their adaptive capacity. The sheer unpredictability of their world meant that even the most resourceful communities faced existential threats that could overwhelm their ability to cope, leaving no trace but faint whispers in the archaeological record. The nature of their limited technology also plays a role in this mystery. While remarkably effective for survival, the tools and shelters of these early peoples were inherently less enduring than those of later, more sedentary agricultural societies. Their reliance on temporary structures, often made from organic materials, meant that their homes largely disintegrated, leaving little for archaeologists to find. Even their stone tools, while durable, might have been less standardized or made from local, non-distinctive stone types, making them harder to identify as definitively human-made or to link to specific cultural traditions across vast distances. Without the widespread, diagnostically distinct tool assemblages seen with later cultures, identifying their archaeological presence becomes like searching for a few scattered needles in an immense hayfield. Finally, a powerful, albeit speculative, theory suggests that these pioneering groups might represent an earlier, possibly unsuccessful, first wave of human colonization. They might have explored parts of the Americas, establishing tenuous footholds, only to be later supplanted, absorbed, or even outcompete by subsequent, larger, and perhaps more technologically efficient waves of migration. The Clovis people, for instance, known for their highly distinctive and efficient spear points, may represent a more successful, larger-scale colonization that simply overshadowed or assimilated any pre-existing, less numerous groups. It's possible that these earliest pioneers simply became lost to the sands of time, their presence reduced to scattered enigmatic clues, waiting for future discoveries to potentially bridge the vast silence and fully illuminate the lost world of America's true first inhabitants. The extraordinary journey into America's deepest past, stretching back tens of thousands of years, is far from over. In fact, the story of its earliest human inhabitants is only just beginning to be truly written. What we've explored thus far, the tantalizing clues of ancient footprints, the contested artifacts from deep caves, and the compelling genetic signatures, represent merely the opening chapters of an unfolding drama, a testament to the dynamic and ever-evolving nature of scientific discovery. The pursuit of these elusive origins is an ongoing quest, driven by the relentless curiosity of archaeologists, geneticists, geologists, and climate scientists across the globe, who continue to unearth new evidence, re-examine old collections with fresh eyes, and apply cutting-edge technologies previously unavailable. From advanced dating techniques that can pinpoint the age of fragile organic remains with unprecedented accuracy, to sophisticated ancient DNA analysis capable of tracing ancestral lineages through millennia, and even remote sensing technologies that reveal buried landscapes, every new methodological leap brings us closer to illuminating the lives of those who walked these lands long before recorded history. This constant push for knowledge means that our understanding is not static, it is a fluid narrative, constantly being refined and reshaped by each shovel stroke, each lab result, each new interpretation. It challenges us, as a global society, to embrace a fundamental principle of scientific inquiry, the willingness to critically examine and, if necessary, overturn long-held assumptions, even those that have dominated academic thought for decades. The Clovis first paradigm, while robustly supported by the evidence available at the time, serves as a powerful reminder that even deeply entrenched beliefs can be redefined by the weight of new, compelling data. This process of re-evaluation, often accompanied by vigorous scientific debate and healthy skepticism, is not a sign of weakness, but rather the very engine of progress, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible and fostering a deeper, more nuanced appreciation for the complexities of the past. It's an exciting time to witness history being rewritten, not through speculation, but through the rigorous, painstaking work of dedicated researchers. The implications of pushing human presence in the Americas back to 40,000 years ago are nothing short of profound. It doesn't just add a few millennia to a timeline, it radically alters our entire conception of human dispersal across the globe, showcasing an adaptability and an exploratory drive that far exceeded previous estimations. It paints a picture of early Homo sapiens as truly intrepid navigators, capable of surviving and thriving in the most formidable Ice Age conditions, venturing into previously uninhabited continents against unimaginable odds. This deeper history also enriches the foundational narrative of indigenous peoples across the Americas, anchoring their ancestral roots in an antiquity that resonates with truly ancient human migrations, adding immense depth and significance to their unbroken connection to these lands. It reminds us that the New World was anything but empty upon European arrival. It was a vibrant, dynamic landscape with a human story potentially stretching back to times that challenge our very imagination. So, as the evidence continues to accumulate, and the layers of time are gradually peeled back, we are left with a tantalizing vision of a lost world and the courageous humans who inhabited it. What do you think about these incredible discoveries? Does the idea of humans roaming the Americas 40,000 years ago resonate with you? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If this journey through deep time has captivated your imagination, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with fellow history enthusiasts, and subscribe to our channel for more explorations into the untold chapters of human history. Join us as we continue to redefine the epic story of our shared past.